Alright, anchors up, pins in the chain, snubbers secure, hatches are closed, autopilot's on, we're heading out of the anchorage and it's time to get the mainsail up. As I nearly always do, put the first reef in the anchorage already. You never know what's going to happen when you get out there. Safer, easier to let a reef out than it is to try and wrestle one down when the wind's stronger than you thought. On this boat, the reefing system's down the bottom. I just pull it down like a Cunningham basically. Next I drop the topping lift, that drops the back of the boom down, and then I cleat off the main sheet and open the clutch on that. It reduces wear on the main halyard. Then back in the cockpit, tighten up the main sheet, get the sail working, and off we go. I just love the way Trade Runner sails. She's just so effortless. We hardly need any wind at all. She's got a big sail area. She's very light, very slippery, and she just gets up and goes. So 7-8 knots is just a standard every day. You can basically get that in any wind, and that is such a nice thing to have. Watch out for an upcoming video. Actually, we're going to do a comparison between monohulls and catamarans. I know this has been done to death, but I feel like with Schiehallion being a performance monohull and Trade Runner being a performance multi-hull, I think I've got quite a unique perspective on this one, so watch out for the upcoming video. Now the forecast for this passage hadn't shown anything to be alarmed at, but it was a bit of a grimy, dark looking sunset. Seas weren't big, but I had a bit of a feeling about something. I wasn't shaking out the first reef, that's for sure. Anyway, we sailed off into the darkness. Right, we're about 8-10 miles out now. Got everything locked down. We've got one reef in the main, full jib. And I got that barber hauled out because we're slightly better than a beam reach. We've got about 8-9 knots of wind on the beam, as I said. We're doing 7.5 knots. So just ticking along nicely. Everything's looking good. There's a bit of thunder and lightning out on our port side, a bit of a squall, but it doesn't look like on the radar like it's anything huge at all. If anything, it's just not even catching up to us. It's sort of just staying at the same speed, so hopefully that doesn't increase anything. We don't really want squalls on our first passage. Marie and baby are in bed. It's 7 o'clock now. That's sort of normally when she takes him to bed anyway, so it's about right, and hopefully he'll sleep through to the morning with a few feeds in between, and I'll probably do most of this passage myself. Marie might give me a break for a couple of hours around midnight, see how she's feeling. But yeah, should be an easy. All the weather, the forecast I looked at was showing yeah, sort of 8 to 15 knots with gusts of 18 to 20 maybe. Starting off at 0.7 metre up to 0.8, 0.9 metre swell, so that's nothing, and should be a good beam reach for the first 40 something miles, and then we have to turn around an atoll and go more north, and then the wind actually turns as well, so it'll probably be hard on the nose that last 30 miles or something, but who knows, we'll see when we get there. Is what it is. Alright, we'll get back to you later. So well, turns out the forecast was wrong. That lightning and thunder, I saw a lot more of that actually all night. Squall after squall. It was just a train of them rolling through. Different wind, different directions, a lot of them, but they just didn't let up the whole night. Crazy, crazy busy night it was. Well, sunrise. I think it's 6 o'clock now. But I'm absolutely rooted, absolutely buggered. First 2.5 hours were really good when we started off. Got some good wind and we were hooning along, and then the squalls, it's just been non-stop squalls since about 9 o'clock at night until now, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they stopped just magically when they started getting light, but just squall after squall after squall. Only saw 35 knots max, but mostly when the squall arrived it was around 32, 33. Stay that way for 20 minutes and then sort of piss down with rain for half an hour and be 25 knots, then ease off, and then just the next one. But they're all a bit different angles, so to keep changing sails, keep moving, the sails keep moving the angle of the boat because sometimes it was too much upwind. I had to go down and then up again, and just no, I haven't had one bit of sleep.
Good morning. You are a brave boy. He didn't cry once. He was probably a bit disoriented, but I had the scariest night. I think it really reminded me the first passage on Sea Alien with Vernon when I was thinking I'm gonna die. Literally, I was seeing by this window the water coming, and it was so much water and the feeling of underwater that I was seeing, you know, this kind of phosphorescent animals in the things. It was like doing like stars going on top, and yeah, that's the window that we were already talking about before the storm. Then I had a little crack, and I was really scared that it would start to leak or having water, and just relying on the window to staying dry. And yeah, with the baby, I was feeling that we were so irresponsible. I was like just keeping him beside me, like between my arm and my leg, and just trying to keep him calm and giving the breast, and thinking if anything is happening, we are just stupid. Why are we doing that? I don't want to leave that. And I was already making this whole plan in my head. Then I have to convince Vernon to sell this boat and having a camper van, and we're gonna continue to travel on land, because we had squall on squall on squall on squall. Every time I was feeling the motion getting a bit calmer, I was saying to the baby, I think it's the last one, it's not possible, it's gonna do again. And 5 minutes later it was starting again. That was hectic. Really, really hard night. And to be honest, I really hope this season gonna be not too often like this. Like, the boat handled well, but with the baby it's way too much. I had these waves of adrenaline and staying with the eyes wide open and the heart all stuck and starting to relax a bit when it was passing, and another one was hitting. Ooh, that was not a fun night, even if I was not the one in the cockpit. Ooh.
After a wild night, the last 10 miles were absolute blissful sailing. Loved it. Now this is the tiny island of Sapuca. It's bang smack in the middle of the Flores Sea, in between Sumbawa and Sulawesi, Makassar, but it and several other islands around here do belong to the South Sulawesi province. A few hundred people live on this island, mostly just surviving from fishing. As you can see, huge long jetty. This island survives completely on goods brought in by ferry from the mainland. We wound our way in amongst the bommies and the coral and just found a nice spot to anchor. Where are we? Baby, you had a good passage? Oh yeah.
We finished the crossing, but it's also the 5th month of winter Island.
Yes, 5 months. Yeah, so we just dropped the anchor in, what do we got? I dropped it in 12 metres and I'm back at 9 metres now. Put out 60 metres. Been very conservative after running on the reef. But it's sand here and it shelves up, so looks very good. I went reverse on both engines at 3,000 revs, which I'm assuming is about probably 30 knots worth of wind, so pretty safe there, didn't move. Really happy. That's the end of that passage, up from Lombok, Sumbawa, up across the Flores Sea. Marie could hardly wait for us to get anchored to then jump in the water and wash away the cold sweats that she'd had all night. You okay?
Yeah, another episode of sketchy Indonesia.
You wouldn't believe it, like, obviously again, didn't pick up the
shaking.
camera when it actually happened because we're trying to save the boat. But baby's shaking. We just got hit by a ferry. Like, I saw him about an hour ago, way outside, and I was like, oh, he's going to get here after dark, and we're inside a lagoon with coral all around. I'm like, I guess he anchors outside and sends small boats in. And then about half an hour ago, I saw him still coming towards us and going like, oh, well, I guess he's got his route planned and he can come in between all the bombies and everything like that. And then I was downstairs cooking, and Marie said, I think you should go out and look, because he was coming close.
Showing the torch really like on us, and like the route was like if they were going straight on us.
Yeah, so I came out thinking, okay, cool. So they had two big spotlights shining on us, and I got my flashlight and was shining up on the mast and the boom and everything, and I was shining at them. So obviously they saw us. I had the radio on, the VHF on, everything. I was like, they've seen us, and they were honking their horn, beeping their horn, and I was sort of like, well, we might be in the way. I don't really know. I've never been here before, but there's 300 meters behind us and 200 meters in front of us, and the jetty's like 300 meters over that way. So I was like, it's not that big a ship. They could get around us, and they've seen us.
And anyway, they were honking. They were already too close to
Yeah.
us. If we were deciding to move, like we would
Yeah, if we'd have
no
to pull in
time,
60
like-
meters of chain and get the snubber off anyway, it wouldn't have, you know. So I was like, well, I'll just make sure that they see us. And the wind's blowing from, well, obviously in front of us, so back towards us. And they went in front of us and like pretty close. And then he just sort of, I could hear him, he went into idle and he just went across in front of us. And then the wind just pushed him down onto us. And then he, just before he hit us, he gave a bit of a throttle burst. And I was just watching it like, he's gonna hit us. And there's this big boat, like he's way up 4 stories high above me,
I was
looking
in
at
the
him.
bedroom watching just the boat going on top of the window, having the babies, and being like, they're gonna just squash us.
And like, I was just looking up at people looking at me, and it was just dark, but you could just see. I was just like in a state of disbelief, like, what the fuck is a cat? Like, I started screaming at him, just like, where did you get your license, you fucking idiot? And like, who goes, when the wind's blowing this way, you go behind another boat. You never go in front of another boat, especially not close. The wind is obviously at 4-story high ship is going to blow you
And
sideways.
you don't stop your engine in front.
And so he actually hit my starboard bow, bonked, and there's a bit of a crack in it now. It's like we're not sinking or anything. But
Oh, yeah,
he could have
I
taken
was
off my whole bowsprit. He could have caught the anchor chain around his anchor or rudder, and then he would have been disabled. And then they were yelling and screaming. I don't know, like I didn't even understand what language they were speaking, but like I don't know if they're yelling at us or yelling at their captain, calling him an idiot. I've got no idea. And they're over there trying to dock now. But unbelievable, like.
Yeah, and like we are not in a shipping channel, like really, like no one
No.
said anything. We spent the whole day here. The local didn't say that it
Oh,
was
there
a
was-
problem to be here.
There was other boats anchored around us today and no one said anything. And as I said, there's 300 meters. We're right, like here you can see, there's 300 meters each, like all around of us, and the jetty's down in the corner here. So he could have, best would have been come around the back here and go to the jetty. Instead he came around the front and then had to do a U-turn and go back to the jetty. Like, but just the logic just baffles me. Even if we're anchored in the wrong place, he obviously has to know that, well, we've never been here. If they're anchored in the wrong place, well, make a change of plan. Like,
Or
be
call
in
us
neutral
radio
out
in
there.
in advance, or
Yeah,
do
stop
something.
out there and call us and tell us to move. But I'm just shocked. I'm just in disbelief how anybody could be that stupid and without logic. I'm more beggars
in,
me.
in disbelief than how this country is working. Like it's
Yeah.
just by luck.
It's all just by luck
it's
that
the
things
second
work.
time then we are almost like.
Splintered by
Yeah.
a bloody Pelney ferry. Yeah. I
I
don't think
should
captain's school
say.
teaches captains much at all. Even this ferry doesn't have navigation lights. It's a commercial ferry, no AIS, no navigation lights. Big commercial boat. Indonesia. Way to go.
Yeah, poor him. I scared him a lot. Now he's a bit calmer, but when I saw the ship really getting close, I just grabbed him and yelled no, because I was really thinking they're gonna like hit us really strongly. So I really scared him.
Poor boo-boo. He came out and he was crying this really strange cry that I've never heard before, like really scared little boy. Oh, poor boy, you've had two rough days in a row now. Poor you. So this is the ferry that hit us yesterday, leaving as they should have arrived, behind us and with the wind that way. Plenty of room, look how much space there is. Just the brains of a bullfrog driving that boat. If you see it, stay far, far away.
Few cracks, but it's okay.
So lucky.
Could have been so much.
Well, look, that whole bowsprit could have been gone. We spent a few hours exploring the island of Sapuka. Really, really cool and interesting place. There's basically a road that goes the whole way around the island. Everyone basically lives on that road.
Look at how they're walking. They're so funny. They're so funny dogs. I've never seen dogs being so straight.
So we sort of felt like Pied Pipers. We'd be walking along and we'd just, kids would come running out and join, and we just had a big group of kids following us at some stage, and it was pretty cool. It's a pretty affluent island actually for being far, far away, and we found out later that they actually self-govern their fisheries. Their main income comes from sea cucumber, and they've basically given themselves quotas and areas and times of the year that they're allowed to fish for these. They've done something called ethno-zoning, so only people who live in these islands are allowed to harvest these. Now here's something you wouldn't see very often. A bunch of little kids, boys and girls, just sitting very quietly watching Marie breastfeed Eli. We went into a shop just to see what they had basically. I think we needed something, eggs or something, and it was a really cool shop. They had everything. They had a stack of chips, and then right under them they have bronze propellers for the boats, and then they had stainless steel stuff that you can't even find in a Lombok, and on the whole floor is just full of boxes of food that come in by ship, obviously, all processed goods. And then all around the walls there's fishing gear and V-belts and oil and all sorts of stuff. It was really a one-stop shop. It was sort of raining on and off, so every time we'd be walking along and it was just drizzling, the locals would yell out and say, "Hey, come under our roof," and so we'd go under there and we'd sit there, and a whole group of people would gather around, and obviously groups of people are always noisy, so Eli didn't really get any sleep. But yeah, it took us quite a long time to get back to the dinghy because we weren't allowed to walk in the rain, even though we don't really mind ourselves. Alright guys, that wraps up this video. We're finally in Sulawesi. I hope you guys are happy because we've been talking about it for a while, but we're finally there and we're very, very happy. Got to thank all you patrons that have been jumping on board. Very, very stoked to have you along. Really helps us out a lot. You can't really believe, like, our earnings from YouTube itself are $100 a month or something, you know, but barely enough to put petrol in the dinghy. But you guys, patrons, yeah, you guys are what keep us afloat, literally, and can't thank you all enough. One of Marie's initiatives is we need to build on the learning by doing thing. So we're going to end these videos with a little, like, well, what did we learn from this episode? Would you like to start, babe?
Me, I don't really know what I learned, but I am in full doubt about this journey. Bernard is saying we are happy to be in Sulawesi, which is kind of true. But to be honest, since we start the Indonesian trip this season, I'm having a little bit of doubts now. I'm still happy to be here, and I think we are trying our best, but it's like if the universe was trying to testing us.
Yep.
Like we have the reef troubled, we have the fixing, we have all these squalls, and now the ferry. Like, I don't know, I take it maybe too personally, but I'm questioning a little bit what we are doing right now.
For me, the learning part of this thing was just don't trust that a captain of a ship in Indonesia will make a decision that has any logic to it. I probably should have started my engines and just gone forward on my anchor chain 60 meters plus another 60, and I might have got out of his way, who knows. I wouldn't have had time to get the anchor chain up, but I just trusted the fact that any logical thinking person would not have done what he did, but he still did what he did with 15 minutes time to think about it. So my learning is never trust that they are going to do something that you think would be the right thing. So act
Yeah, because we are
The trust in the boat and the trust in what we're doing. Yeah, we've lost our confidence a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, and really, then we are not trying to make fake dramas. Like it's really not our style. We are in general trying to always show the positive things, but we are a little bit in a down of the wave.
The other thing we've learned, definitely both of us, is that he doesn't really need anything more than us. It's rough weather, it's stormy, it's raining, the window's leaking, whatever. He doesn't really care anything. Just like the opposite, if it's the most beautiful sunset ever or whatever, he doesn't really care about that either. He just wants to be with us, breastfeed, sleep together, and know that we're around. And he does feel differently when we're nervous, I know that. But in general, if we're happy, he's happy.
Yeah,
So that's all we have to worry about. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.